Thanks for joining us. My guest today is Marquita Waters, very talented. Instead of me talking about her, let me just show you this video which encapsulates her.
It's people like you who try to tell me what I should do.
I considered myself on equal standing with stars. News was I was going to make it very soon. I auditioned for Quincy Jones. Mercury Records wanted to sign me. In my book, I talk about stardom, abuse, and redemption. With a lifetime of experience, I will teach you how to sing through it all.
That was Marquita Waters' I Will Not Grow Weary, the commercial for the book, which kind of talks about her whole life, as well as vocal lessons. And welcome, Marquita.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, good. So thanks for joining us on Filmmaker Interviews. For those of you who don't know, I have a sister site called Musician Interviews. And that one, Marquita and I did a really long, 3-hour interview?
Yeah, we were doing it a long time, but it was so nice to do because the fact that I know you so well and you know me so well, it wasn't anything that was laborious. It was very pleasant. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. So for Filmmaker Interviews, we're going to do a commentary on the music videos that we've done together. And without further ado, we'll get into it and we'll do more chatting a little bit more on the back end.
Yeah.
So this is the opening shot. That photo you took, tell us a little story about that one.
Oh, the photo. Oh my gosh, from the book. Yeah, that's like when I was about 20 years old. And it was the first time that I went blonde. I was a brunette. I actually was a blonde when I was a kid. But I had a new look, came to LA, got blonde. And that was the first photo shoot of being blonde.
Do you remember where it was shot and who took it?
No, actually, I don't know where it was shot. I mean, I know it was LA, but I can't remember. It's been a long time ago.
So just to tell her that it was taken somewhere 1966-ish? Is that right?
No, I think we need to move up a little bit. Maybe 1960, the end of the 60s. The very end of the 60s. Yeah, the very end. Yeah, we're creeping towards the 70s, but I don't think we got there yet.
Because that's a very twiggy look.
Yeah.
I remember I was printing out the book cover, and then the lady's like, man, her eyelashes are amazing.
I think I had 2 sets on.
So tell us a little bit about that era. Like, what was it like? Was it similar? Like when you go to an audition, you had 200 people there, or was
the amazing thing about when I was younger is that the auditions that I went on, it was just myself. You just went into the room. Now my father played for me. He was a piano player, a band leader, and he was really a driving force, and he drove the songs into me so that when I went on the audition, I knew them perfectly. And it was only either maybe 5 people there or the one person like Quincy Jones, but it was only one person. It was only me auditioning for either the one person or the 4 people. And it was special. You had their attention. And it's not like today. Today, it's different. Of course, I was with a big agency, so maybe that was the difference, too.
Right, you were signed with William Morris. Agency.
Yeah, William Morris. Plus, I had the head of the East Coast office, Lee Solomon. He was my agent. So I really had the top people there looking after me. So that was, I believe that made a difference too.
Absolutely. And that's what they say now. Like I had a friend, he was signed with William Morris, but he was not that big. So he felt like he got best of both worlds. He got really good push when it pushed, but when it wasn't, they were working with Brad Pitt and these other guys. So they were kind of ignoring him.
Oh, yeah. And that's just it. You can end up on the shelf, which towards the end I did. They weren't really doing very much. I had a bad review when I played the Copa in New York. And that's the Copacabana. It was the biggest place to play. And I played with this headline comedian, Joe E. Lewis. and he was just the popular person. And I was very unhappy at that time. I was very confused, and I was singing great, but when I went to the Copa, things were really, really just edgy in my life. Let's just say that. Well, and then the review was bad, so I was switched down to another agent. So it wasn't the top agent there at the East Coast office. And they didn't like my managers, and that's a big deal. The people that you have working with you, they've got to like each other. They have to work together. But there wasn't any cohesiveness. And little by little, I ended up just playing the Playboy circuit, which it can, in itself, will end up being a dead end.
So you got dropped down based off of one review, or was it multiple things? Like from Lee Solomon down to like a lower tier agent?
Yeah, lower tier agent. The interest in myself just wasn't there. And I think, I was taking over. Well, I wasn't taking over. I was just doing the jobs. So I didn't know how to push in any way. But I just think that's the way it was. The interest wasn't there. I did get good reviews, but it just seemed to dissipate the William Morris agency.
And so a couple of films that are out right now that this kind of ties into, there's a Quincy Jones documentary on Netflix. There's a whole Mercury Records section that he talks about, or they talk about in the movie. That was the era that Marquita was auditioning for Quincy Jones. So it's really cool to see how this ties in with massive history. And also the Green Book, which was I'm not sure if it won Best Oscar, but it was amazing. It's probably my favorite film of the year. It starts off with the Copa. The opening scene is he's working at the Copa in New York.
Amazing, huh? Oh my gosh.
So I'd love to watch that movie with you and see, oh yeah, that's exactly how the room was, or...
Oh my gosh.
So so check out those two films. Okay, so let's continue with your music video. Okay, so let's go back a little bit. So this is your very first music video in your life, right?
I having worked and sung all my life, to be, I wasn't 70 then. Okay, we're giving away my age. Yeah. Gosh, I was in my 60s, and it was just amazing to realize that, oh my gosh, I'm finally doing a video, and it's an original that I wrote. So it's never too late to do what you want to do. And it was, I guess it was just very pleasing, exciting, yes, but it was just very rewarding to finally do a video, to finally have something tangible that, it's set. It's other than recordings,
right.
Which, I really didn't have that many. And so it seems like there's a new life here. Even though you come to a certain age, it's never over if you keep moving and keep doing. And that's what the excitement is, which the video's there. The book is the same, the name as that first video. And that was your idea too.
Right.
That you had said, I will not grow weary. How about that? Use that. And I said, oh, duh. The dawning. Oh, gosh.
Well, because that is there's so much talk about YouTube burnout and like creator burnout, that is a perfect title for artists, especially with who's done it for more than 5, 10, 15 years. So as the years, you're like, wow, and you haven't hit, it's like, yeah, you've got a couple of things like I had a couple of things been on #1 shows, but it's never lasting. I mean, the hard, you always say it's like, it's hard to get on top, and it's even harder to stay on top. So, and I've got friends, they've made millions, and then they're homeless. Like one literally lost his home, and he was living in my second bedroom. So it happens in this industry. So I think that's the beauty of this YouTube age, to where before it was like either you're signed by 28 to a label or your career's dead and you can just play local clubs. Yeah. But now people are making 100,000 even a month doing covers like Boys Avenue and all these guys. So that's what's kind of given me, and I think us, because we kind of work together. We're almost doing everything in parallel. Yes. And we've been working together since 2010. So when I stalked her after a vocal class,
I know. And it's like, who is this guy? And, can I carry your stuff? I'm going, oh, okay.
and it's been an amazing collaboration. So she's been giving me vocal lessons. We worked on I don't think I've ever collaborated with anybody for our individual needs as well as our combined things, to where we were doing 2-3 hours a day for almost 5-6 days out of the week.
Yeah.
For years.
Amazing.
So
yeah,
it's crazy, and it's beautiful. It's like my wife is always like, man, you guys are like two peas in a pod.
There you go.
And so now going back to the video, we started shooting this about 6 a.m. I love that light. So if you look at this light, it's pretty much golden hour before, in the morning, as opposed to the sunset. And usually when it's a little cloudy, it gives that really nice diffused look. So you look at the stones and Marquita standing in the window in this little, is it a hut? What is that thing?
Actually, this is a place. It's just this building, and there's several little rooms in it. It's really, it should be preserved.
It's beautiful.
It's in a park that like I say, I walk my dog there every day, and that's what gave me the idea. How about this place? And you said, yeah. And it's just sitting there. It's just this one little building. I don't know how old it is, but then we brought my bench and put that right in the front, and it really worked really well.
Yeah. And so this is actually 3 days of shooting. I think the first one we did it to where you pretty much, we'll get to that in the video, where you walk away, and then we kind of stopped shooting just because the light started changing. And I didn't really want that mid-morning light. And then we came back, I'm not sure if it was a week later or a day later. I think it was the next day, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
And then we kind of shot part 2 of it, where you're walking into the mountains. And you said the mountains are very dear to you. And that's why I kind of took that theme, saying, let's have you going into the mountains as opposed to the beach or forest.
Oh, yeah, because I was a distance runner. So I've run all those mountains. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was, I was, being out, and I didn't start running until late, too. That late bloomer thing.
Right. I know all about it.
I know. I think you and I have it down.
Yeah. Which is kind of inspiring, because I'm always looking at other late bloomers. The guy who won the best screenplay for King's Speech, he got it at 72. So. Oh
my gosh.
Yeah. That's a really cool.
Isn't that that is so exciting. I mean, I think that's just it. If anything that we can do, it's encourage people to know it's never over.
Right.
Until you're in that grave, honey, it is not over. You got to keep moving, and you need to keep inspiring yourself. And that's what running and being out in the mountains. I bagged on how many mountains here in LA. And the fact is that you're out there, you're encouraged with looking at the beauty of nature. So that was that was the inspiration for that. The beach is great. A lot of people love that, but I love the mountains. I loved the fact that I'd be on top of the mountains, and it was quiet. It was serene. There was nothing happening, and other than you see God's beauty, the nature, and you'll hear the birds, and it's inspiring. And we need to feed ourselves so much on that, and then keep feeding ourselves with the good things, the things that keep lifting us up, other than our art, and then put that in our art. Keep that moving inside of us so that we don't get jaded, we don't get despondent, because like you had said, there's so many people that either have made it and lost it, or haven't made it and kept trying. And the whole thing is that it's in the doing. It's in the everyday doing, and keeping ourselves up to date, keeping ourselves motivated. So, back to the mountains.
All right, so let's continue with the video. So one of the themes I was going for with this, it's almost like right here, you're kind of looking at your old, like, and everybody does that. Oh, I was, life was so good when I was young. And then that's kind of you're looking off into the distance, and this is the whole presence right here.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of like the higher self of you is coming in now through the window. And
everybody remarks how that's so interesting. You have two of me.
Right, and I went a little bit black, one's wearing black, one's wearing white. The white is more enlightened, so it's kind of like the guardian angel looking over you. And it's kind of like it's internal, because like sometimes you do have really good days where you're emotionally just there. You're like, oh, I feel good, I'm going after this. But the other days you're like, oh, it's like, and I think artists go through this and entrepreneurs go through this, with this wave of up and down. So I kind of wanted to hit up on that theme. So, and also in this part, I made a decision. I was like, I don't want the one in the black singing, and it's the white one singing. So just to kind of have a little bit of a story, I was like having a story behind it.
Yeah.
And right here is where you start singing on verse 2.
Right.
Where the lyrics are, my mind plays tricks on me.
Yeah.
It's telling me all my opportunities.
It's in the black dress.
Right. It's in the black. So I'm trying to keep that theme. So there's actually kind of like a filmic thing as opposed to just some random shots.
Yeah, no, I mean, everybody loves it. And I was taken back when I saw it. And I know you worked so hard on it.
And I have to give huge props to Van for staying and editing.
Yes.
So this is the second day of shooting, I believe.
Yeah.
We shot this, I think, in 2014, like around July 4th. And I remember we released it in December. So by the time we were done at your show in Pasadena. So. And then, so we're putting in all the photos of you, and it's you in black, and it's still kind of looking back on the olden days.
Yeah.
And so these are some of the shots where one of the problems is like sometimes you end up just taking everything with the artist in, and I was like, oh, I had no B-roll. So I went back by myself and just kind of shot in the same location, but from her POV. So like what she'd see.
Yeah.
So like all these shots right here with the bushes, and like that was another day.
Yeah. A lot of work.
And then so you're walking around in heels in dirt and mountain.
I know.
We actually cut the scene where you were gonna rock climb with the dress and heels.
How about remember when Kat and I were holding up the shade? What was it?
Yeah,
that's
the diffuser.
We were holding the diffuser. Yes, we're holding that, and the wind is going. It's like, okay, we're going to die here,
Yeah, and that's where it was so windy, and you can see it. Like, I don't like giving away mistakes, but like when you see the sun hitting her shoulder, that's where the diffuser was just flapping in the wind.
Yeah.
And so
I love the end shot. The end shot when boink.
So we finished the shoot, and I'm just like, it just feels like still like shots. And I was like up all night. I couldn't sleep. I was just thinking. And I was like, I got it. So that's where I came up with the idea for that final shot of her on the top of the mountain. We freeze it and we turn it into a photo. And then we're going to continue on and then kind of show where that goes. So it's one of those things where sometimes you don't even have the full idea while you're shooting. And then when you're in the editing phase, that's when more ideas come. And that's usually where you go and get a pickup shot. And luckily, she didn't cut all her hair off or anything. And everything matched months later, So right here, so your higher enlightened version puts these pictures there, and that added a perfect ending. Even though the song was over, I still wanted the story aspect to go. And your performance here is amazing. I love it. Where you're in black looking around, it's very believable, because that's a really hard emotion to get as an actor, is to be surprised.
I know you were saying it to me, and I thought I didn't think it was that great, but it's like, okay.
Because most of the time everybody overacts those things, like, oh, who put that there? You know, and yours is very natural, subtle. It wasn't too surprised, and so it's kind of like the higher self is like, look, here's your current time. This time is more valuable than any other time, which is basically 5 minutes ago from where, and so now you're kind of putting that in. So I added the song without the lyrics here, and then going, and I love transitions to where that was your MP3 cover. So coming out of the photo album, and it goes into with the credits and all that writing on the lid. So, and I always like crediting everybody who worked, including the guy who helped throw the leaves down at the park. Mike Spry.
Yes, you know that man ended up dying.
Right.
He was on the street, and he's not with us anymore. But he was right there. He was right there at a time, and he just wanted to help us out. So he says, "Okay, I'll do it."
Right.
He was so sweet. Yeah, I miss him.
Yeah, and that was actually shot. That's the slow motion of where the leaves in the foreground and Marquita sitting on the bench in front of the house way in the background, and he's the one dropping the leaves above it.
Yeah.
And that was back when the iPhone 5S had slow motion. I think it had 720 frames, 720p, and 120 frames a second, I believe. So it's crazy. Like you have a DSLR that's $3,000-$4,000, but you end up using an iPhone because it has more capabilities.
It is amazing.
Right. So that is actually, like, I've done, I'm not sure, dozens and dozens of videos, but this story-wise is my favorite music video I've ever done, just because I think that probably is because what I'm going through, because you're always looking into your past, but just trying to stay present in the moment, and saying, right now, this moment, what you have right now is the most important, and, cherish it.
Yes, you've got to. You can't go back and get anything from the past. You can learn from it, but it's today that you have. The future, you don't know what's happening. So make the best of today. Keep it going. Keep current. A lot of people are constantly, staying back and in their what they did before, but they're not moving in today and making today really good. It's keep current. Love what you're doing today.
Right.
Work at it today. You can make the future better.
Right. Which is also the flip opposite is everybody's, okay, I'm going to do this. And you and I were talking about it. It's like, okay, days or weeks are passing by without us doing anything. So we kind of keep each other in check, and having, like that two peas in a pod kind of thing, somebody who's in the same mindset, almost going through the exact same thing, because we're both doing music simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, okay, what do you need to get done? Like for me, I need to get my tracks done. Okay, you need to get the marketing for your book done. It's like, what are you doing every day? Mm-hmm. As opposed to, okay, like I've been saying, like the song that we worked on, I think I spent 4 years on one song before I released it. I mean, but granted, I was a guitar player and I switched over to singing and playing guitar. So I kind of spent the 4 years kind of like practicing the vocals, so. Yeah. But still, it's kind of like, okay, it's time to move, It's like, so that's where I'm about to release my second song.
Yeah. It's easy to procrastinate and give excuses when it's fear a lot of times, or I'm not quite sure what to do, and you want to be right in what you're going to do, so you end up stopping movement. And a lot of times it's no, you've got to keep yourself moving. You've got to do something towards your goal. You can't just wait a week and then, okay, now I'm going to do it again. You lose momentum. So it's doing that, keeping it continual, but also getting it out to the public.